You've actually said that much of marketing attribution as we know it is scientifically flawed. In a
Mhm.
LinkedIn post, you wrote that marketing has evolved a lot from the TV Mad Men days to TikTok, but our measurement methods are kind of frozen in time and we're chasing vanity metrics instead of true effectiveness. Maybe chat about that a little bit. Like, can you unpack why you think traditional attribution is broken? Do you still think that multi-touch attribution or click-based attribution is still useful for something today, like content effectiveness or path to purchase? What are your thoughts there?
Sure, Phil. So the way attribution is used in practice today in the industry is to essentially do user tracking, right? So attribution has come to mean user tracking, right? Now the problem with this is when we approach any measurement solution, we are primarily interested in two things. Are we able to understand the cause and effect? If you observe certain events, are we able to understand the causes that is leading to these events? So that's in the truest sense, that's the meaning of attribution, right? So if you look up the word attribution dictionary, it has a cause and effect connotation associated with it. So that is missing in the way attribution is practiced today. So that's problem number one. Problem number two is the marketing ecosystem today is pretty complex, right? So you have got a bunch of different factors. You've got your paid media variables, your own media channels. You're giving out running a lot of promotions, giving a lot of discounts, making a lot of price variations and all of that. Right? So it's a pretty complex process. So for you to make any meaningful optimization decision across all those factors, you need to understand what is each of these factors incrementally offering you, right? How are they incrementally driving your outcome? So the attribution, the way it is practiced today, doesn't solve for causality, doesn't solve for incrementality, right? So that's our primary problem with attribution, right? And that's why we believe that it's broken. The meaning of the word in itself is sort of changed in today's marketing context to just mean tracking, and it has got diluted significantly.
Yeah. I feel like what you're saying is part of the problem is in the word itself, like the definition of the
Mhm.
word. Like I've worked with plenty of companies where if we throw around the word attribution, it's synonymous with multi-touch attribution. We've had some guests on the show that kind of explain it as like attribution is a bucket of figuring out what is driving effectiveness, what is driving revenue for marketing. And MTA and click-based stuff is just one of the methods of doing that. And last touch, first touch, multi-touch, incrementality, MMM, causal stuff, like all of those things are different methodologies under the bucket of attribution. But we throw around the word attribution, everyone instantly just like goes right to MTA, and
Yeah.
MTA is going to tell us what drove revenue. And like you said, a lot of folks have also pointed out the issue with cause and effect there, and even like correlation and some of the signals we're getting. Like it's behavioral analytics from what we can see. And that's like the part where I find is really hard to defend with MTA. What we can see is diminishing all the time, and what we can stitch together in terms of like a user's online journey is also diminishing. So
Mhm.
yeah, MTA is really hard to defend, but like you built LifeSide 7 years ago, right? Like you've been in the space for a long time. The initial product that you guys were working on was third-party measurement to solve user journey attribution. And to solve for some of that like journey stitching, you were using ID graphs. Basically, you were in the credit distribution game, right? Like some of the stuff
Yes.
that you're talking about. And at some point, chatting with customers or, researching more stuff about this space, you discovered that this didn't lead to enabling businesses to make better decisions. We weren't like signaling what was driving revenue. There was no causality in what you were doing. So maybe chat about like that pivot, like what led
Sure.
you to discovering that baselines and incrementality were
Sure.
missing from the approach, and you kind of went towards that area.
Sure. So let me first unpack this attribution problem a little bit more. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think you very clearly sort of articulated the technical limitations in having this user journey built.
Hmm.
So there are a bunch of privacy concerns. You can't track all the user exposure, all the user touch points. Now, most of the retail businesses are omni-channel, right? So you've got your digital media, social media, offline spend. There are a bunch of other offline events. Your sales channels are also some of it is in your direct-to-consumer website. Then you have product placed in marketplaces. You have your offline stores and things like that. So it's very hard for you to technically build the user journey. But let's assume that somehow you managed to do this, right? That you have the most perfect user journey available. You have got all your touch points of all your customers properly captured. Now the question is, uh, what do you observe in this particular data, right? So we have come through that journey, right? We have been, as you rightly said, when we started up, we wanted to solve this attribution problem. And our philosophy was that we will try to build the most comprehensive user journey possible across both first party and third party data, building the most exhaustive identity graph and all of that, right? So even once you have all the data that you need, what you would finally see in the data is a lot of spurious correlation, right? So let me give you a couple of examples. So your bottom of the funnel would always be highly correlated with your outcomes, right? Because in the whole journey, more people are engaging with your bottom of the funnel right before they transact. So you will find a very high correlation between certain parts of this data with the outcome that you are interested in optimizing for. Now, from this correlation, we need to glean out causality, right? So we have all heard this cliche that correlation does not imply causality. But the other side of the same equation is there is no causality without correlation. So correlation is a necessary condition, but it's not the sufficient condition. So causality is essentially correlation plus bias. Can we somehow manage the bias so that we could interpret the observed correlation as causality? It's a very hard problem to solve only from multi-touch attribution data. Let me give you a couple of examples here, okay? So let's assume that there's this one physical store that you have, and you've kept a billboard right in front of the store. So every user that walks into your store, they see this billboard. Now, can we say that this billboard is driving the walk-ins? Now, once these people are in your store, say you're offering some discounts, and a lot of people are redeeming these discounts and they're making a purchase. So they were showing high intent by walking into your store. Is this coupons or discounts incrementally driving more outcomes? So these are very difficult problems to only address from your journey data. Perhaps if you have two stores, you could keep a billboard in front of one store and not in front of the other, and that would give you a meaningful lift number. If you have, again, two stores, you could give discounts in one and not in the other. And here you are making some interventions and measuring a difference. But if you look at attribution, it just shows a lot of correlation. It's very hard to infer causality from this data, right? So that's the fundamental problem with attribution. Now, we have had similar issues when we started the attribution journey at LifeSite. So we were, in fact, helping a lot of brands measure the out-of-home billboards and things like that. So some of these questions actually came to us. Do we know the incremental contribution of these things? So we started working on incrementality testing back in the day in 2019, 2020. Our approaches were different. We used to have exposed devices, and then we used to do lookalike modeling, and we used to create synthetic control devices, and we used to measure the lift between these two. So approaches were different, but as part of our research into the space, we sort of moved to more identity agnostic way of measuring lift. That's with geotest and things like that. Right. So that's been the journey.